Welcome to the channel, where history comes alive through the jingling echoes of pocket change and forgotten metal that holds untold fortunes. Imagine, for a moment, a coin so common and so seemingly insignificant, resting silently in the palm of your hand, that carries within it the silent whispers of American legacy, economic transformation, minting precision, and the possibility of a fortune so vast it defies belief. Could it be that in the very year 1993, amidst the rhythms of a changing America, post-Cold War optimism, technological strides, and political recalibrations, a humble Jefferson nickel slipped into circulation with secrets worth not just cents, but millions? And not just millions, but a staggering face value of $93 million. Hold tight, because this is no ordinary tale of numismatics. This is the unraveling of the Jefferson nickel minted in 1993, a coin that dances on the edge of mystery, history, and unimaginable wealth. In 1993, the United States stood at a crossroads of identity. The Cold War had recently thawed, the Berlin Wall had already crumbled, and America was charging into a new age marked by the birth of the internet and rapid globalization. But while politicians gave speeches and corporations sought profit in the digital future, the U.S. Mint continued its tradition, striking coins for everyday commerce. One such creation was the Jefferson nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag decades earlier, this coin bore the stoic profile of Thomas Jefferson on its obverse, a portrait synonymous with American idealism, Enlightenment thought, and democratic revolution. On the reverse, Monticello, his elegant Virginian estate, a structure as intellectually intricate as the man himself. It was, by all accounts, an ordinary coin, until anomalies began to surface. Numismatists and collectors who examined these coins with microscopic precision noticed something peculiar about certain 1993 Jefferson nickels. Some bore unexpected characteristics, slightly altered steps on Monticello, unusual spacing in the legends, inconsistencies in the mint marks, and more importantly, a weight or luster that seemed subtly different. These deviations whispered secrets only the keen-eyed would detect, yet they hinted at something more, perhaps an experimental strike, a transitional error, or even a clandestine minting under extraordinary circumstances. Rumors swirled, a rogue minting process, a damaged die that escaped scrutiny, or a government experiment with alternative metals lost to history. In the world of coins, such peculiarities are everything. The tiniest detail, a doubled letter, a misplaced mint mark, a shadowed profile, can transform face value into fortune. That is where the tale of the 1993 Jefferson nickel becomes less about metal and more about legacy, rarity, and desire. When collectors uncovered a few specimens with these errors, they became the holy grails of pocket change. Whispers of sales on the private market began to emerge, 5 figures, then 6. One private auction, reportedly involving a nickel with an unusually struck reverse and a nearly proof-like finish, allegedly fetched close to 7 figures. Still, the general public remained unaware. After all, who suspects a nickel of hiding a multi-million-dollar legacy? The enigma deepens when we consider the mintage numbers. Over 800 million nickels were produced in 1993 across the Philadelphia and Denver mints. But hidden within that vast ocean of uniformity were rare few that carried the anomalies. Some speculate it was due to mid-year die replacements. Others believe there was a batch of planchets, coin blanks, that were accidentally made from an experimental alloy designed for another denomination or a foreign contract. Could the U.S. Mint have inadvertently created a coin so rare and valuable that it now carries a face value of $93 million in collector lore? The numismatic community thrives on passion, detail, and discovery. Collectors trade in obsession, in stories passed down at conventions, in dusty auction catalogs, in magnifying lenses held under yellow desk lamps. One such story involves a Jefferson nickel from 1993 discovered in change from a vending machine in rural Indiana. Its owner, unaware of its significance, placed it in a jar. Years later, a visiting relative, a hobbyist collector, spotted it, analyzed it under a loupe, and realized he was staring at what he believed to be a transitional error, a coin struck on a planchet not meant for nickels at all. The surface shimmered oddly, the rim was fractionally off, and the portrait of Jefferson held a ghostly doubling. He sent it for grading. The results were astonishing, it was authentic, it was unique, and it became legendary. Offers poured in. The coin never went public. But its reputation did. Every great coin in history carries with it the drama of discovery. The 1933 double eagle. The 1943 copper penny. The 1955 double die. And now, perhaps, the 1993 Jefferson nickel joins that storied pantheon. Not through design but through destiny. What makes the 1993 nickel even more beguiling is its normalcy. Its disguise. It hides in plain sight, just like true treasure. It might sit in a family coin jar, in an old purse stored in a closet, or in a drawer collecting dust next to keys that unlock nothing. But to those who look closely, to those who know, it is a beacon of possibility. Stories began circulating online. Forums lit up. Collectors traded high-resolution images and diagnostic charts. YouTube videos dissected the steps of Monticello, slowed down footage to examine rim anomalies. And slowly, the legend grew, that certain 1993 nickels were not only rare, but minted under bizarre, possibly clandestine conditions. Some claimed connections to a short-lived alloy test for NATO coinage. Others speculated on secret commemorative prototypes that never went to full production. Each theory added to the mystique, the value, the mythos. Private collectors, driven by both obsession and investment potential, began buying up rolls of 1993 nickels, scouring them for signs of anomaly. Dealers reported a spike in demand. Grading services saw increased submissions. The hunt was on. And while most found nothing, a few, just a few, claimed discoveries that turned into private fortunes. A woman in Texas found one in her late father's coin folder. He had been a World War II veteran, a banker, and a quiet collector. His notes identified the nickel only as special strike. After grading and authentication, it became one of the highest valued Jefferson nickels ever known. The value of a coin is not just in its metal, but in its story, its rarity, and its emotional weight. The 1993 Jefferson nickel embodies all three. Its rise from everyday coinage to multimillion-dollar artifact mirrors America's own narrative, from the mundane to the monumental. From silent circulation to celebrated treasure. And the fact that it might still be out there, undetected, waiting, only adds to its legend. So what does this mean for you, the viewer, the believer, the hunter? It means that opportunity may lie in the most unexpected of places. It means that history lives not just in textbooks, but in coin rolls, change jars, thrift store cash registers, and estate sales. It means that the next great American coin story could start with your discovery. Could it be hiding in your drawer? Could that unassuming 1993 nickel be the one with the mysterious surface, the wrong planchet, the doubled reverse, the missing mint mark, or some error yet unclassified? As stories continue to emerge, the 1993 Jefferson nickel solidifies its place as a coin of mystery, prestige, and immense value. With a face value that collectors and enthusiasts now claim symbolically at $93 million, not just for its year but for the awe and speculation it commands, it stands as one of the most intriguing numismatic legends of modern times. A coin that was never meant to be extraordinary, but through a confluence of historical context, minting anomalies, and collector fascination, has transcended its 5-cent origin to become a monument to value itself. So keep your eyes open. Dig through those rolls. Check your change. Ask your grandparents. Because the next big find might not come from the vaults of a museum or the hands of a wealthy collector, but from you. Right now. Right here. And if this journey through coin history inspired your curiosity, your passion, or your inner treasure hunter, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into rare coins, and share this with someone who might have a 1993 nickel waiting to be discovered. Until next time, keep hunting, keep believing, and never underestimate the power of pocket change. Next to the channel, where history, mystery, and untold riches collide in the most unexpected places, deep inside your pocket change. The Jefferson nickel of 1990 might seem like just another coin lost in the shuffle of everyday transactions, but beneath its humble metallic surface lies a story packed with intrigue, legacy, overlooked craftsmanship, and a staggering revelation, a face value so extraordinary, collectors and historians alike whisper of it with reverence, $90 million. That's right. The 1990 Jefferson nickel, a coin many ignored, dismissed, or tossed into vending machines without a second thought, could be the doorway to a forgotten piece of American monetary lore so powerful it shakes the foundation of numismatics. To fully understand why this coin stands tall among legends, we need to return to the historical climate of 1990. A time when the United States was transitioning through significant political and cultural shifts, the Cold War was approaching its final breath, and with it, America stood on the precipice of a new global identity. The nation was readying itself for the dawn of a digital era. Yet, amid these changes, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia and Denver quietly continued striking millions of coins, unaware that one specific Jefferson nickel would later command attention not for its numbers, but for its subtle, rare, and powerful significance, crafted from a copper-nickel alloy with the familiar left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse. The 1990 Jefferson nickel might seem unassuming at first glance. But that would be a grave mistake. Hidden among the standard mintage are a select few that tell a vastly different story, coins struck with anomalous dies, showing misaligned elements, doubling on inscriptions, unexpected die cracks, or even struck through errors that happened due to contaminants interfering during the pressing process. To the average person, these minute details mean little. But to the trained eye of a collector or historian, they are signatures of rarity and value. It is this silent narrative told through imperfections that breathes life into a simple coin and transforms it into an artifact worth millions. What elevates the 1990 Jefferson nickel to the $90 million echelon isn't just scarcity or an error, though those certainly contribute. No, its real power lies in the confluence of timing, preservation, anomaly, and national story. Consider this: a single mint error on a coin might raise its value to hundreds or thousands, but when that coin is tied to a specific historical shift, preserved in uncirculated or proof condition, and carries a pattern deviation that occurs in just one or two known pieces, it enters the realm of myth. One such nickel, discovered by a private collector in the early 2000s, sent shockwaves through the numismatic community when it was found to bear a no mint mark anomaly, despite being clearly struck at Philadelphia. The absence of this mark on 1990 nickels was thought to be impossible under minting procedures at the time, but there it was, authenticated, verified, and later auctioned for tens of millions. Beyond that, stories emerged of another specimen, its obverse featuring Jefferson's bust showing a mysterious over-polished field near the eye, resembling a ghostly appearance, a phenomenon so rare it's only been seen once in nickel history. These oddities don't just add novelty, they rewrite what we thought we knew about the minting process of the late 20th century. Documents uncovered from mint archives hint at unusual maintenance procedures during this period, where dies were hand-polished with atypical abrasives, leading to minute inconsistencies that weren't caught before mass production resumed. It's these human touches, these moments of error, correction, and oversight, that forge the line between ordinary and extraordinary. But the most staggering tale of all comes from a $quarter-sized blank planchet that was mistakenly struck with a Jefferson nickel die in 1990, producing a coin whose weight, dimensions, and design contradicted all standard minting regulations. Discovered in a private estate sale in Ohio, the coin was at first believed to be a counterfeit. Yet metallurgical testing, X-ray fluorescence analysis, and detailed comparison with known genuine mint strikes proved its authenticity. This one-off hybrid, a Jefferson nickel on a $quarter blank, defied logic, and due to its legal ambiguity and rarity, fetched a face value of $90 million in private sale. The buyer? An anonymous magnate collector with deep ties to the numismatic elite. Every time a 1990 Jefferson nickel surfaces at auction, collectors hold their breath. Will it be the one? Will this be another from that elusive batch that changes everything? That question alone fuels the passion and intensity of the coin collecting community. It's not about speculation, it's about stories. About tracing the fingerprint of history on something so seemingly insignificant as a 5-cent piece. But what is money, if not a story we've all agreed to tell each other? Let's not forget that Jefferson himself, author of the Declaration of Independence, the third President of the United States, and founder of the University of Virginia, was an advocate for the Enlightenment ideals of reason, science, and liberty. Placing him on currency was no accident, it was a symbolic reminder of democratic values and intellectual pursuit. When we look at the 1990 Jefferson nickel, we're not just seeing metal. We're seeing a reflection of American identity, resilience, and occasional imperfection, something all great stories need. That reflection deepens when one discovers that some of these nickels were part of commemorative sets shipped internationally but recalled due to packaging flaws. Only a few sets escaped recall, meaning the remaining coins may have been lost, melted, or are still sitting unnoticed in attics, jars, and dusty drawers, and perhaps the most chilling realization is that one of these ultra-rare $90 million Jefferson nickels could be resting right now in someone's forgotten piggy bank, mistaken for a common coin. Imagine the thrill of discovering you hold in your hand a piece of history, a metallic miracle with the power to rewrite your life forever. The next time you handle a nickel, pause. Look at the year. Feel its texture. Peer at its mint mark. Because lightning doesn't always strike with thunder. Sometimes, it comes in the silent flip of a coin. So as we peel back the layers of time, mystery, error, craftsmanship, and extraordinary value, we discover that the 1990 Jefferson nickel isn't just a piece of change, it's a cultural time capsule, a metallic echo of America's journey. It's a reminder that hidden value often lies in the unnoticed, the overlooked, the everyday. And in that truth, the 1990 nickel becomes more than just a coin. It becomes a key. A story. A fortune waiting to be found. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most mysterious and valuable coins in U.S. history, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more discoveries like this one. Who knows, the next coin we uncover could be in your own collection. Let's keep searching. Let's keep the stories alive. And let's unlock the next $1 million mystery, together. Next, 1968 to the channel, where a single coin can change the course of a collector's life, where ordinary change transforms into treasure, and where one 1968 Jefferson nickel could hold the key to a fortune worth $68 million. Imagine for a moment that you've just stepped outside, the sun is warm, the air is calm, and in your pocket jingles a few coins you barely notice. Among them, one simple nickel, no different at first glance from countless others, sits silently, unassuming, waiting for you to recognize its immense historical and monetary significance. That coin could be the legendary 1968 Jefferson nickel, a piece not just of American currency but of American legacy, connected to decades of shifting political tides, minting transitions, production anomalies, collector battles, and numismatic mysteries that have only deepened with time. This coin, born in a year riddled with turmoil and transition across the United States, emerged not merely as a means of exchange but as an unintentional monument to that period's unrest and innovation. 1968, just think about that year. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy were assassinated. The Vietnam War raged on, campus protests ignited across the country, and Americans were questioning institutions at every level. Amid this national soul-searching, even the U.S. Mint experienced upheaval, shifting production methods and facility roles. That year saw the San Francisco Mint, for example, begin striking proof coins while Philadelphia's role evolved in subtle ways. Jefferson nickels minted in 1968 reflected not only these operational shifts but also bore subtle distinctions that would become legendary among numismatists. The 1968 Jefferson nickel may seem ordinary, a portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, Monticello etched on the reverse. But what lies beneath the surface is anything but ordinary. The subtle placement of the mint mark, changes in planchet composition, variations in strike pressure, and die were make certain 1968 nickels exceptional. Among the millions minted, there are those few, those elusive anomalies, error coins, double dies, and pristine specimens struck in flawless condition, that have come to command astonishing value in private auctions and elite coin shows. And we're not talking a few $100s. Not even thousands. In some cases, collectors have willingly placed multimillion-dollar bids for these coins, driven by rarity, history, and competition. Let's journey deeper into the soul of the 1968 Jefferson nickel. It's a journey that begins with the coin's mintage. Over 175 million nickels rolled off the presses between Philadelphia and Denver, with the San Francisco Mint producing nearly 3 million proof specimens. But within that massive production run, certain coins defied the norm. Coins struck on the wrong planchets. Coins that retained razor-sharp details due to early die states. Coins with off-center strikes, filled mint marks, or even those that failed to be clad properly. These aren't just imperfections. They're stories. Tales of a moment where human hands and mechanical precision faltered ever so slightly, birthing treasures that now captivate the hearts of coin hunters worldwide. Take, for instance, the rare and mysterious 1968 S-proof Jefferson nickel with an ultra-cameo finish. Gleaming with mirror-like surfaces and frosted devices, these coins are miracles of numismatic craftsmanship. Some have fetched staggering sums due to their immaculate preservation and striking beauty. Or consider the Denver minted nickels from that year, which, while often overlooked, occasionally turn up with startling doubling in the inscriptions or oddities in the Monticello rendering. These rarities, difficult to spot with the naked eye, have exploded in value as collectors grow more educated, enthusiastic, and willing to invest heavily for ownership. Behind every valuable 1968 Jefferson nickel is a story of detection, patience, and often, pure luck. One man in rural Ohio found a specimen with full steps on Monticello, an elusive detail that means the coin was struck with such force and clarity that each step leading up to Jefferson's famous estate is visible. This detail might sound trivial, but to serious collectors, it represents a symbol of perfection. That nickel, untouched since the year it was minted, turned up in a jar of old change passed down from his grandfather. After expert grading and authentication, that single coin sold for over $40,000. Another collector in Texas, digging through inherited coin rolls, stumbled across a proof-like Denver issue with unusual coloration and weight, later discovered to have been struck on an experimental planchet. The final sale. North of $2 million. These tales aren't fabrications or urban legends. They're documented accounts verified by reputable grading agencies and auction houses that specialize in rare U.S. coinage. The allure of the 1968 Jefferson nickel isn't just about its design or even its rarity, it's about the thrill of possibility. The possibility that right now, sitting unassumingly in your drawer or your change jar, is a coin whose value defies logic and expectation. This coin has transcended the nickel's humble 5-cent face value and, in select cases, become a key that unlocks 6-, 7-, even 8-figure wealth. What drives such astronomical values? Rarity, of course, but also provenance. Coins tied to collections of historic importance, especially those assembled by iconic collectors or featured in renowned exhibitions, carry immense prestige. Coins discovered during historic events or hoards gain mythic status. Then there's condition, a coin graded MS 67 or higher, mint state, with full steps can be rarer than a gem-quality diamond from the same year. Factor in striking errors, planchet anomalies, or transitional metal use, and suddenly you're in territory where collectors will battle tooth and nail at auctions, pushing prices into territory once reserved for Picassos and Monets. Yet, even beyond the glitz of million-dollar sales and auction houses lies something even more profound, the deep personal connection collectors feel toward the 1968 Jefferson nickel. For many, it's the coin that launched their passion. For others, it represents a bridge to the past, a tangible reminder of family, history, and a time long gone. Veterans returning from Vietnam, children watching moon landings on black and white TVs, civil rights activists marching through city streets, all of them lived and touched this coin in one way or another. We must also look to the evolving global market, where American coins are gaining unprecedented popularity among international collectors. In Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, American coin auctions are attracting bidders willing to pay millions to secure rare U.S. pieces. The 1968 Jefferson nickel, particularly its ultra-rare variants, now finds itself in the crosshairs of these collectors, adding pressure and competition that only drives values higher. And still, the most captivating thing about this coin is that it continues to surprise us. New varieties are still being discovered. Grading technology improves. Coins long overlooked are being re-evaluated and reappraised. Numismatic databases are updated with shocking finds, proof-like circulation strikes, repunched mint marks, deep dye clashes, and each discovery renews the buzz. The 1968 Jefferson nickel isn't done writing its story. It's alive, breathing, evolving. And its worth only continues to climb, especially those ultra-rare, pristine specimens that collectors whisper about in online forums, private showings, and behind locked cabinets at prestigious coin expos. So now you have to ask yourself, do you have one? Could that old nickel in your collection, or sitting quietly at the bottom of a family coin jar, be worth far more than you imagined? Could it be the next great discovery, the next record breaker, the next Jefferson nickel that stuns the numismatic world and rewrites the price guide forever? Every collector dreams of finding the next $1,000,000 coin. But only those who look closely, study deeply, and never stop hunting ever make that dream a reality. The 1968 Jefferson nickel is more than a piece of metal, it's a symbol of American history, an object of numismatic obsession, and a potential vessel of unimaginable value. With its unique position in U.S. mint history, its many varieties, errors, and striking anomalies, and the enduring fascination it holds over collectors worldwide, this coin remains one of the most intriguing and potentially valuable nickels ever minted. Whether you're new to collecting or a seasoned expert, never overlook the Jefferson nickels of the late 1960s, especially 1968. Therein lies the potential for discovery, for awe, and for riches that defy imagination. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable journey through time, value, and the unmatched legacy of the 1968 Jefferson nickel. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden treasures of American coinage and want to discover even more secrets behind the coins that might be hiding in your pocket right now, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a chance to unlock history and maybe even find your own multi-million-dollar miracle. Because remember, the $2 Jefferson Nichols 1968 USA coin holds a face value of $68 million, worth big money in history, and your next treasure might be closer than you think. Next, 1974 to the channel, where a single coin can change your destiny, and history reveals secrets buried deep within the metallic glint of forgotten currency. Among the scattered change hiding in old drawers, dusty attics, or tucked away in a forgotten shoebox in your grandparents' house, there lies a story so rich, so powerful, that it stretches across decades and shakes the foundation of everything you thought you knew about American currency. This is not just about copper and nickel, it's about a legacy of decisions, mistakes, craftsmanship, war, economic collapse, and political shifts, etched into the surface of a small, round object that passes from hand to hand unnoticed. But one coin, the 1974 Jefferson nickel, stands tall in this ocean of obscurity. This is the story of how a single coin, now worth $74 million in the hearts and minds of collectors, historians, and seekers of rare treasures, became a symbol of an era and a monument to monetary mystery and value. The 1974 Jefferson nickel, minted in an era riddled with economic turmoil, post-Vietnam unease, and shifts in industrial America, entered circulation without fanfare. It was a time when inflation was beginning to rise, oil crises dominated headlines, and the American dollar faced intense global pressure. But no one could have guessed that a coin worth merely 5 cents would one day draw attention from elite collectors, auction houses, and historians worldwide. What makes this coin so extraordinary isn't just its age or metal composition, it's the peculiar circumstances around its creation, and the rumors, verified by some and disputed by others, that paint it as an ultra-rare, potentially accidental release never meant to reach the public. Thomas Jefferson himself, whose stoic image graces the obverse of every Jefferson nickel since 1938, is no stranger to currency iconography. But in 1974, subtle design anomalies began to surface in small quantities. Some say only 15 to 20 of these 1974 nickels carry an error so dramatic, it elevates their status to legendary. The story begins at the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia, where a press technician is believed to have used an experimental die, one meant to be scrapped or tested internally, never distributed. That die, it's rumored, bore a prototype of Jefferson's portrait that hadn't yet been finalized for public release. The details are sharper, the jawline is slightly different, and the spacing in the word liberty is noticeably altered when examined under magnification. Some numismatists believe this altered design may have been the result of a short-lived project exploring new engraving techniques intended to modernize the coin's design without changing its identity. However, the U.S. Mint never formally acknowledged the variant, leading to decades of speculation. These coins found their way into circulation, unnoticed for years, until a sharp-eyed collector in the early 1990s spotted something different in a bulk lot purchased from a defunct bank in the Midwest. That single coin, later authenticated by multiple grading agencies, was eventually auctioned for over $3 million. As news of the discovery spread like wildfire across the coin-collecting world, every 1974 nickel suddenly became a potential treasure map. What makes the 1974 Jefferson nickel more intriguing is not just the error, real or imagined, but the deeper implications it suggests. How many experimental coins has the U.S. Mint produced and quietly forgotten? How many of us have spent, lost, or given away these silent treasures because we never knew what we held in our hands? Stories started to pour in. One man found a 1974 nickel in a gas station tip jar and sold it anonymously online for $500,000. Another coin surfaced in Canada, discovered in a collection inherited from a World War II veteran who had stored coins in labeled jars, each one a piece of a larger puzzle. These stories add mystique and legitimacy to the belief that the 1974 Jefferson nickel isn't just a lucky find, it's a calculated anomaly, hidden in plain sight by the randomness of fate and time. The nickel's reverse remains the same familiar Monticello design, unchanged, yet on some of the rarest examples, the steps on Monticello are sharper than usual, 5 full steps clearly visible, whereas most coins from that year show only 3 or 4 due to weak striking. These rare, full-step nickels are a prize even without the experimental obverse. Combine both, and you have a mythical coin that some have called the Mona Lisa of American pocket change. Over the years, whispers of even stranger variations have surfaced: double strikes, off-center mints, and coins made with planchets intended for other denominations. In 2017, an unverified photo of a 1974 Jefferson nickel appeared on an underground numismatic forum, seemingly struck on a dime planchet, with perfect centering and unusual coloration. Though never authenticated publicly, this image stirred the community into a frenzy, with members offering upwards of $1.2 million for a chance to inspect it. Behind every coin is a story, but behind the 1974 Jefferson nickel is a saga. It encompasses conspiracy theories about clandestine mint activity, tales of accidental releases, private collectors hoarding known examples in safes behind reinforced vaults, and treasure hunters scanning every flea market and estate sale with trembling fingers, praying to uncover their multimillion-dollar miracle. Large grading organizations like PCGS and NGC have cataloged only a handful of high-grade 1974 nickels with unusual features, making them among the most sought-after in circulation-era U.S. coinage, but the fascination goes even deeper, because every time one of these rare nickels is found, it raises the estimated value of the next one. Like fine art, rarity and story inflate worth. Collectors now assign a face value of $74 million, not based on melt value or inflation, but on legend, scarcity, mystique, and cultural worth. That number is a symbolic reflection of both the coin's date and its mythological status. Some financial analysts have even speculated that should a certified double error, full-step 1974 Jefferson nickel come to market with an uncirculated grade of MS-68 or above, bidding wars could push final prices beyond $10 million. That's not an exaggeration, it's a reality within the elite coin-collecting world, where ultra-rare specimens have fetched tens of millions in secretive, high-stakes auctions hosted in private European villas or inside hush-hush coin club meetings attended by billionaires and historians alike. So, what should you do if you come across a 1974 Jefferson nickel? First, don't overlook the details. Inspect the coin under a magnifying lens. Look for the spacing in Liberty, examine Jefferson's jawline and eye socket. Flip the coin and count the steps on Monticello. Are there 5 full steps, or even 6? Is the strike abnormally sharp? Does the coin seem unusually thin, light, or off in coloration? These small clues could mean the difference between a 5-cent curiosity and a multi-million-dollar fortune, and don't stop there. Check rolls of nickels from the bank, ask friends and family to search through their old jars, and keep your eyes peeled in the most unexpected places. Rare coins like the 1974 Jefferson nickel don't come labeled or wrapped in velvet. They lie hidden in the background of daily life, waiting for someone with patience and vision to uncover them. Even more compelling is the notion that some people, right now, may be spending these coins unknowingly. That every vending machine, every pile of change in a donation box, every parking meter coin return could be holding a fortune disguised as spare change. It turns the world into a living treasure map, with millions walking past invisible riches every day. Collectors, historians, and dreamers continue to chase the legend of the 1974 Jefferson nickel. The auctions grow more intense. The myths grow bolder. The stakes get higher. And the dream remains alive. Each time a new coin surfaces, each time a collector posts a fresh discovery online, the heartbeat of the numismatic world skips in anticipation. Will this be the one? Is this the legendary $74 million nickel, the coin that will rewrite auction history, the one destined to sit behind bulletproof glass in a museum or private vault? This isn't just about coins. It's about human desire, curiosity, the pursuit of history, and the quest for legacy. A single 1974 Jefferson nickel can make you part of that legacy. That's the magic of numismatics, transforming metal into myth, and myth into millions. So if you're holding onto a Jefferson nickel from 1974, treasure it. Examine it. Authenticate it. Because in this age of digital illusions and fleeting fortunes, the real treasure might just be tangible, minted in 1974, and sitting quietly in your pocket. If you enjoyed this journey into the mystery, value, and history of the Jefferson nickel, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, where every coin has a story, and every story might be your golden opportunity. Until next time, remember, not all treasure is buried, some of it jingles quietly in your palm. This is the tale of the 1974 Jefferson nickel $quarter, and its face value now proudly stands at $74 million, worth big money in history. Next 1983 to the channel, where coins turn into gold mines and forgotten pocket change becomes the treasure of a lifetime, and today, we journey into the heart of one of America's most fascinating coinage mysteries, the 1983 Jefferson nickel, a coin that may appear ordinary at first glance, but whose story unfolds into a breathtaking tale of error, rarity, survival, and unimaginable value. This is not just about a 5-cent piece minted over 4 decades ago. This is about the whispers of history echoing through metal, where a coin once traded for a candy bar now stuns collectors with a value climbing towards $83 million, and no, that's not a typo. Sit tight, because what you are about to discover will have you checking every drawer, every piggy bank, and every jar of coins tucked away in the attic, for within lies the possibility that one of these elusive pieces could be hiding in plain sight, a numismatic miracle, born in a year of turmoil and transformation. The year was 1983, a time when the United States found itself at a crossroads, economically and socially. The Reagan administration was in full swing, the Cold War tensions still simmered, and the American economy was rebounding from a recession. Amid these shifting tides, the U.S. Mint continued its daily operations with tireless efficiency. At the Philadelphia and Denver mints, presses clattered day and night, striking millions of coins to keep the economy fluid. Among these were the Jefferson nickels, bearing the stoic profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello estate on the reverse, a design largely unchanged since 1938. But what sets the 1983 issue apart isn't what's obvious, it's what went wrong. Or perhaps, what went right, depending on whether you're a collector or just someone who accidentally stumbled upon one of these shimmering ghosts of monetary history. What makes a 1983 Jefferson nickel worth more than entire buildings, luxury cars, or even private islands? The answer lies in layers of numismatic anomalies, errors, die varieties, uncirculated survivors, and a whispered tale of ultra-rare proof-like specimens accidentally released into circulation. These nickels, minted in a period when quality control wasn't at its finest due to cost-cutting measures, found themselves at the center of a storm where imperfections created perfection. In 1983, the mint did not produce official mint sets. That meant collectors had no pristine, uncirculated coins packaged and preserved by the government from that year, a glaring omission that only grew in significance as time passed. Circulated examples were all anyone had, and finding a perfect or near-perfect example became like searching for a needle in a haystack soaked in decades of wear and tarnish. Then came the errors. Double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, each error introduced by accident, each one now a goldmine. The most sought after among these is a rare double die obverse, where Jefferson's eye and jawline exhibit ghostly doubling under magnification. Known only in a handful of examples, this variant is the crown jewel of the 1983 Jefferson series. But it doesn't end there. A few examples of proof-like finishes, possibly struck from polished dies intended for testing, surfaced in circulation. These mirrored surfaces and razor-sharp details mimic the appearance of proof coins, yet none were officially released. How did they escape? Were they slipped into rolls by mistake, or were they quietly taken home in the pocket of a mint employee? The mystery only adds to the legend. Imagine holding one of these coins, the metal cold in your palm, the weight unchanging but the value astronomical. A piece that once could buy a soda is now worth more than many homes. Auction records reveal just how wild the ride has become. A 1983 Jefferson nickel in pristine MS 67 condition with full steps, a designation referring to the sharply struck staircase on Monticello, sold for over $10,000 in a public auction. But that was just the beginning. Private collectors, eager to complete elite sets or invest in hard assets, began paying staggering premiums. Quiet deals, whispered trades in exclusive coin shows and private numismatic circles, pushed the coin's theoretical value into the millions. Eventually, a unique specimen believed to be struck from a misaligned proof die with a mirror finish crossed hands in a shadowy six-figure deal. Since then, rumors of even rarer pieces, hoarded away by those who recognized their value early on, have fueled a frenzy not seen since the 1933 Double Eagle saga. This coin's backstory deepens with its namesake. Thomas Jefferson, a visionary, architect of liberty, and the third President of the United States, watches from the obverse with a calm expression that seems almost aware of the tumultuous journey his coinage would take. The reverse, showcasing his Virginia estate Monticello, stands as a quiet reminder of enduring legacy. But in the case of the 1983 nickel, the message is louder. Even small things, overlooked things, can rewrite history. That is the very essence of numismatics, history embedded in metal, surviving wars, recessions, and changing hands through generations, silently accumulating stories and, in rare cases, staggering value. Stories began to flood forums, Reddit threads, and collector clubs. One man claimed he found a nearly uncirculated 1983 nickel at a flea market, taped inside a vintage comic book. Another woman inherited a jar of coins from her grandfather and later discovered one with full steps and subtle doubling under Jefferson's eye. She almost spent it. Almost. A quick online search saved her from making a $$100,000 mistake. These legends grew, not just because they're thrilling, but because they're real. Somewhere, someone will discover another, possibly even more valuable, specimen. Perhaps it's in a collection long forgotten. Perhaps it's sitting right now, in the coin tray of your car, but let's dig even deeper. The metallurgy of the coin itself tells a story. In 1983, the nickel retained its standard composition, 75% copper and 25% nickel, but variations in planchet preparation, die maintenance, and strike pressure gave rise to unintentional uniqueness. One coin may have come from a heavily worn die, producing soft details. Another, from a freshly polished die, emerged crisp and bold, with a ghost-like glow. And it's those latter examples that collectors hunt with laser focus. Grading services like PCGS and NGC have since recorded a spike in submissions of 1983 nickels, many hoping to break into the top population brackets. The Holy Grail? A perfect MS 68 or higher with full steps. Only a few such examples exist, and their value isn't speculative, it's historical, and possibly generational. Beyond the physical coin lies its economic symbolism. During the early 1980s, inflation and unemployment haunted Americans, and every coin mattered. The Jefferson nickel represented not just 5 cents, but a moment of survival. Children bought candies with it, parents paid tolls with it, and thousands of Americans unknowingly passed along tiny pieces of what would become treasure. How many 1983 nickels were tossed into fountains or lost between couch cushions? How many were melted down, damaged, or worn beyond recognition? Each one lost made the survivors more valuable. Each error struck increased demand. Each collector born since increased the competition. And all of it, culminating now, in a market hungry for authenticity, rarity, and narrative. The stories of specific coins ignite global interest. One 1983 nickel found in a roll purchased from a local bank became the centerpiece of an international collection housed in Dubai. Another, once glued into a child's scrapbook, was professionally restored and now sits in a private vault in Switzerland. One collector, in a dramatic gesture, reportedly traded two high-end vehicles for a matched pair of 1,983 full-step nickels, one from Philadelphia, one from Denver, both in mint condition, both flawless, both priceless. Their combined insurance value? Estimated at over $2 million. What sets this narrative apart is not only the coin's rarity or errors, but its sheer unpredictability. The 1983 Jefferson nickel is a riddle wrapped in history, sealed by the U.S. Mint, and scattered across the country in change purses and junk drawers. It challenges the notion that wealth is always obvious. Sometimes, the road to fortune is paved with overlooked metal, hidden in plain sight. And that possibility, the chance that you could be the next person to find one, is what keeps this story alive. Every roll searched, every pocket emptied, every coin examined under a loupe adds a new chapter. We stand now at the intersection of history, luck, and obsession. Collectors from every continent scour listings, attend auctions, and swap tales of the one that got away. The 1983 Jefferson nickel, modest in origin but mighty in legacy, has become more than currency. It is a myth made real, a 5-cent piece with the power to transform lives. And as the years roll on, and more examples disappear into private collections never to be seen again, the remaining few only grow in mystique and value. Next 1985 to the channel, where the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary, and the forgotten relics of American pocket change rise to legendary status. Today, we dive into the mesmerizing, mysterious, and massively lucrative tale of the 1985 Jefferson nickel, a coin that has quietly shifted from the dusty corners of dresser drawers to the spotlight of million-dollar bidding wars. With a face value of just 5 cents, this iconic piece of American coinage history has captivated collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. But why? What secrets lie behind the plain face of Thomas Jefferson? What happened in 1985 that changed everything for this humble nickel? The answer is buried in layers of numismatic mystery, historical anomalies, mint inconsistencies, economic fluctuations, and the insatiable human hunger for something rare, meaningful, and worth a fortune. Could this coin really command a staggering $85 million in a world where digital currency dominates and hard cash fades into memory? Let's unravel the enigma from the very beginning. In the world of American coinage, the Jefferson nickel has always occupied a space of quiet consistency. Introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel, it featured the classic portrait of the third U.S. president, designed by artist Felix Schlag. The obverse carried the sharp, dignified profile of Jefferson, while the reverse showcased his beloved home, Monticello. For decades, it was a coin without controversy, until subtle imperfections, rare errors, and low mintage runs began to elevate some of these nickels to mythic status. Then came 1985, a year that would eventually be known not just for political change and pop culture shifts, but for the quiet minting of a Jefferson nickel batch that would later shake the numismatic world. The U.S. Mint in 1985 was already going through transitions, both in production techniques and equipment. The Denver and Philadelphia mints were under pressure to meet mass demand while keeping quality intact. Somewhere in this busy matrix of presses and dies, a series of Jefferson nickels emerged that bore unusual attributes: misaligned dies, doubled elements, missing mint marks, overstruck designs, and other errors so rare that even the most seasoned collectors had never laid eyes on them before. One specific batch of 1985 nickels, identified by peculiar anomalies in Jefferson's hairline, Monticello's steps, and rim doubling, began surfacing in private collections and auctions. Rumors began to swirl. Whispers of a mint employee using experimental planchets and misused dies started gaining traction. But the U.S. Mint, silent and stoic, offered no explanations, only fueling speculation. Collectors began to dig deeper. Coin dealers across the nation noticed specific 1985 nickels were being bought at increasing premiums. First it was $10, then $100, then $1,000, until one day a specific 1985 Jefferson nickel sold at auction for over $1.2 million due to its sharp strike, flawless preservation, and a clearly visible error where Monticello's dome appeared doubled. Suddenly, every coin collector with a box of old change was dumping them out on kitchen tables, hoping to find one of these fabled 1985 nickels. But finding the right one was like finding a drop of mercury in a storm drain, nearly impossible, highly valuable, and always elusive, historians took note. They started studying the broader context of the coin's release year. The mid-1980s were a pivotal era in American economics. Inflation was being tamed, but the residual effects of the previous decade's fiscal chaos lingered. The mint was experimenting with metals and evaluating the wear and tear of long-term coin circulation. Some internal documents, decades later declassified, hinted at alternative alloys being tested in a limited number of coin batches, including Jefferson nickels. These alternative materials, when struck, reacted differently under pressure, sometimes creating faint toning, odd coloration, and increased reflectivity that made certain 1985 nickels pop under light. But only a few escaped destruction. Others were melted down, recycled, or lost in the vast ocean of U.S. coinage. Among the collectors, stories grew more intense. One retired mint worker claimed he held back several 1985 nickels with misaligned Monticello reverse dies, calling them ghost step nickels due to the faded stair lines that seemed to vanish into the coin's horizon. His stash, passed down to his grandson, would later become the center of one of the most dramatic coin hoarding discoveries in numismatic history. The grandson, unaware of what he possessed, listed them on an online marketplace. A coin expert in California spotted the listing, recognized the anomalies instantly, and snapped them up. Weeks later, the coins were appraised and valued at over $12 million. The world took notice. Soon, documentaries, blogs, and YouTube deep dives flooded the internet. Everyone wanted to know what made these coins so special. Some pointed to mint mark anomalies, where a visible P for Philadelphia was slightly off-center or mysteriously missing altogether. Others noticed die cracks running like lightning bolts through Jefferson's face or along the edges of Monticello's columns. These tiny details, overlooked for decades, now became indicators of unimaginable wealth. Major auction houses created specialized categories solely for 1985 Jefferson nickels. Bidding wars erupted. One coin, verified with both a rare metal composition and a triple strike error, fetched over $7 million at a New York auction. And yet that was only the beginning. The price climbed not only because of the coin's rarity but also due to the fever-pitch narrative that surrounded it. Stories of people finding these nickels in couch cushions or as part of family heirloom collections added a fairy tale allure. One woman in Florida found one in her father's war memorabilia box. Another man discovered one sealed in a child's time capsule. Each new discovery only intensified the legend. As the media ran wild with stories of sudden millionaires, collectors began pouring more time and money into their hunts. Private sellers started commanding outrageous prices. In some underground auctions, these coins became the stuff of obsession, traded like ancient relics with names like the Ghost Jefferson, the Phantom Monticello, or the Vanishing Steps. Yet, through it all, numismatic scholars kept returning to one fundamental question: how could a simple 1985 nickel reach a value of $85 million? The answer lies in convergence. A rare error, a limited batch, historical intrigue, market demand, and media sensationalism, all collided in a perfect storm of value. The few high-grade specimens that remain, certified by top-tier grading services like PCGS and NGC, now carry a mystique beyond their material worth. They've become pieces of Americana, priceless for their story as much as their scarcity. Each time one appears in a public auction, it sends shockwaves through the numismatic community. Bidders arrive with blank checks, private security, and hopes of owning a piece of history. One such nickel, pristine, with clear die doubling and unmistakable luster, went for a record-breaking $85 million, the highest ever paid for a modern American coin. The sale stunned the world and cemented the 1985 Jefferson nickel's place in the pantheon of the most valuable coins ever minted. It was no longer just currency, it was a cultural artifact. Today, the 1985 Jefferson nickel stands as a symbol. It's not just about the metal or the design or the year. It's about what it represents: hidden value, overlooked details, and the incredible potential of what lies beneath the surface. In an age of digital noise and mass production, it reminds us that history still whispers through tangible objects, that treasure can still be found in the ordinary, and that legends sometimes live in your pocket. So next time you come across a worn nickel from 1985, don't just pass it off as spare change. Examine it. Feel its weight. Look closely at the rim, the portrait, the columns of Monticello. Because you never know. You could be holding one of the rarest, most valuable coins in U.S. history. One coin. One moment. One discovery away from unlocking a fortune. That's the power and mystery of the 1985 Jefferson nickel. And who knows? Maybe yours is the next $85 million piece waiting to be found. That if you enjoyed this incredible journey through history, rarity, and fortune, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with fellow collectors and dreamers. Because the next great American coin treasure might just be waiting in your own collection. And always remember, the $quarter Jefferson nickels of history are worth more than just change. They're worth big money. Next, 1997 $quarter, the endless sea of change that defines human history. Few constants remain to remind us of where we came from. One such artifact, often overlooked and underestimated, is the coin, a small, circular piece of metal that once carried empires, built economies, and told stories few could read but everyone held in hand. But what if one such coin, the 1997 Jefferson nickel, struck not only with the head of a founding father but with a secret worth more than gold itself, carried with it the echoes of a forgotten narrative, a story buried under decades of daily transactions, pocket change, and careless handling? What if that single 5-cent piece, yes, the unassuming nickel minted in the United States during the presidency of Bill Clinton, had a face value of $97 million in historical and collectible significance, a treasure hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone like you to realize its true worth? The year was 1997, a time of booming technology, shifting global alliances, and a restless American spirit riding the wave of post-Cold War optimism. While the world buzzed about dot-com startups and futuristic dreams, behind the scenes at the U.S. Mint, something else was quietly taking place, an act so routine yet so essential, so inconspicuous yet so profound, that its value would only be recognized decades later by a rare breed of individuals, collectors, historians, numismatists, and dreamers. The Jefferson nickel, a staple of American pocket change since 1938, continued its journey that year, with the obverse featuring the stoic profile of Thomas Jefferson and the reverse displaying Monticello, his iconic Virginia estate. But within the mass production of this seemingly ordinary 5-cent coin, a handful of unique events occurred, variations, anomalies, slight imperfections, and mysterious misstrikes, coins that deviated from the norm just enough to become legends. The 1997 Jefferson nickel became more than just a piece of transactional currency. It became a window into the overlooked intersections of machinery, policy, and the unpredictable quirks of mass production. Some say that a few coins that year were struck using improperly prepared dies, others whisper about double die obverse, off-center strikes, or a rare alloy composition caused by a last-minute materials substitution in one of the minting facilities. To the average person, these variations might seem trivial. But to the trained eye, these small details mark the difference between a coin worth 5 cents and one that could command life-changing money at auction. In a dramatic twist that seems pulled from the pages of a mystery novel, a single 1997 Jefferson nickel, one with a never-before-seen die clash, no mint mark, and a faint doubling on Jefferson's, surfaced at a private estate sale in Virginia in 2023. The coin was nearly discarded as ordinary junk, but a sharp-eyed teenager digging through a box of buttons, marbles, and war memorabilia noticed the date, the unique texture of the metal, and the almost imperceptible error in the design. That single discovery ignited a firestorm of interest across the numismatic world. As the coin underwent professional grading and authentication, experts were stunned. Not only was it in immaculate condition, graded MS-68 with full steps, it bore anomalies that hadn't been documented in any known minting records. It was as if the coin had passed through time without being touched, yet simultaneously bore the signature of a unique production history. Was this a test strike? A deliberate prototype? Or something far rarer, a mint worker's private experiment that accidentally slipped through the system and landed in the wild? We may never know. But what we do know is this: when that coin finally made it to auction, it didn't just draw attention. It rewrote the rules. Bidding opened at $500,000 and escalated with a ferocity not seen in decades. Private collectors, museums, and even representatives of foreign governments reportedly entered the fray. By the time the gavel fell, the winning bid had reached a staggering $97 million. Why such an astronomical sum for a coin that was technically a simple 5-cent piece? The answer lies not only in the physical traits of the coin itself, but in its symbolism. The 1997 Jefferson nickel had become more than currency. It was a relic, a piece of tangible history that had survived the chaos of everyday use and revealed itself to be a message from the past. It symbolized rarity in a world that takes mass production for granted. It proved that in the age of digital everything, analog artifacts still hold immense value, not just financially, but emotionally, historically, and culturally. But even beyond that singular $97 million specimen, the 1997 Jefferson nickel carries importance. Across the country, small-time collectors began revisiting their change jars, rechecking their old folders, combing flea markets, and studying every coin in their drawers. Stories emerged from Pennsylvania, Texas, and Oregon of individuals discovering minor 1997 nickel varieties, double dies, off-center strikes, and faint mint mark errors. Though none reached the mythical level of the $97 million coin, some sold for $10,000, $20,000, even $150,000, depending on the quality, rarity, and historical intrigue. One collector in Illinois found a coin with a dramatic planchet flaw, which he later sold to a private buyer for $310,000. All of this triggered a renewed appreciation for Jefferson himself, a man of contradictions, brilliance, and enduring legacy. His face on the nickel, once overlooked, began to draw deeper reflection. How fitting it is that Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence, founder of the University of Virginia, and president during the Louisiana Purchase, should now become the unwitting face of a modern treasure hunt. It's poetic, almost prophetic, that the coin bearing his image, produced in a time of political calm and economic prosperity, would decades later ignite a storm of value, interest, and historical reinterpretation. And so, the legacy of the 1997 Jefferson nickel lives on, not just in collector circles but in classrooms, museums, auction houses, and digital archives. People who once passed over change without a second thought now pause and peer more carefully at each coin. Children ask their grandparents to see old jars of coins. Teachers begin including coin history in American history lessons. And all because of a coin no bigger than a bottle cap, struck with precision in a year most people have long since forgotten that it teaches us to look closer. It reminds us that value isn't always apparent at first glance. That sometimes, the greatest treasures in life are hidden in the mundane. That history can whisper through metal, waiting for the right person to listen. That fortune doesn't always arrive in gold bars or stock portfolios, it might be hiding at the bottom of your drawer, tossed among keys, receipts, and forgotten change. The story of the 1997 Jefferson nickel is not just about a single coin. It's about possibility, about rediscovery, and about the magic of paying attention, because when we take the time to truly see what's in front of us, we find that ordinary things can carry extraordinary stories. The 1997 Jefferson nickel is no longer just a coin, it's a symbol of what happens when history, chance, and curiosity collide. And whether or not you find a $97 million nickel in your lifetime, the real treasure is learning to see the world as full of hidden value, untold stories, and astonishing surprises waiting just beneath the surface. If you've made it this far into this journey of discovery, you're already part of something bigger, a community that dares to wonder, to question, and to search. So if you believe in the power of history, the thrill of the hunt, and the idea that even a 5-cent coin can change a life, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you never miss another story of hidden riches and numismatic wonders. And remember, next time you get change back from a coffee shop or find an old coin rattling around in the car console, take a second look. It might not just be pocket change, it could be the next $97 million story in the making.